Welcome back to the In Good Company podcast or company. I never know how to say that. It's all very confusing, guys. Obviously for Manchester TV, part of the local TV network, and just the deadly duo today, guys. The Saint and Greavesy for the new generation. That's Bird and myself, and obviously Paul. How's Paul doing?
I'm all right, mate. I think we're more of a hinge and bracket now, aren't we? I think I'd like to be a hinge and bracket.
I think they had a bit more hinge and bracket, but yeah.
I mean, we could come dressed up next week, though. I think that'd be nice, just to shake it up a bit. I'm good, mate. Yeah, it's all good. It was. I missed a little bit of the game yesterday because it was my granddaughter's 5th birthday, so I missed a little bit of the game building a trampoline for her, but. That was it. Once I built the trampoline.
Which part of the game did you miss? Which bit?
The first sort of half hour of it, really. Not the exciting bit, not the useful bit.
All right. Well, I'll cover for you then, mate. On that option, don't worry about it. Right. First of all, Everton 0, Manchester City 1 at Goodison Park, 5:30 p.m. 5:30 p.m. kickoffs, 26th of February. 2022. I don't think we got there to this game, did we, mate? I couldn't get there myself. I can never get a ticket for these close games. I'm all right with the far ones because no one wants to go, but I struggle at these local games, to be honest with you. So Everton 0, City 1. Summation of the game, Paul, from your thoughts on it and what happened on. Obviously, there's a lot of consternation out there from Scousers of both the red and blue persuasion, of course. Yesterday, I feel obviously a bit sorry for the blue persuasion ones than I do for the other guys. But what are your thoughts on the game as in summary, mate?
I mean, as I say, I missed most of the first half, and apparently Everton were quite dominant from what I can gather from what people were saying on Sky. It just sounded like they were absolutely amazing in the first half. Frank Lampard again, it was like, they were miles better than us. They pressed, they did it. So I'm just assuming that they totally battered us from what I've seen in the press and what I heard last night. I can only comment on the second half, as I say. That's the bit I saw. I mean, obviously we've got that, the contentious decision. We say not contentious in my mind, but in the red and the blue half of Liverpool and the. I don't know what to call it in the mainstream media because everybody seems to have seen it as a very dodgy decision and bent VAR. But I mean, we can name a few bent VAR decisions and that certainly won't be coming in our top 10, would it? So I just think, we're not playing at our best. I don't believe we're playing well by most team standards, but by our standards, I think we're a bit below par, to be honest. And we've come up against two teams that have, it was their probably two best performances of the season, I would suggest, from what I'm listening to. And, Harry Kane was the best, striker that the world's ever seen again last week. And Everton were amazing. And how they're at the bottom of the table, we don't know because they were, again, amazing yesterday. So, I'll take it. That's the mark of champions. We pushed. It was coming. The goal was coming. I don't like the way we keep hoofing balls in, though. We keep hoofing balls in like we've got an imaginary 6'5" striker. It looks a bit desperate sometimes, but at the end of the day, a win's a win, and I'll take it no matter how it comes, to be honest.
Spot on there, mate. I mean, I'll give my summation from watching the whole game. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, my views now at this point in time, 4 p.m. when we're recording this the day after, slightly different to immediately after the game. I mean, as I say, it swings and roundabouts with the VAR, which it'll always be. Personally, I would have been gutted as an Everton fan that wasn't given as a penalty, but I can fully understand the Premier League stance on it, defending the referees from a clear and obvious point of view. But let's face it, we know what VAR is like. You'll get these decisions. Everton will hopefully get a decision next week that went against them this week, and that's how it goes round. And that's my sort of philosophy with this one. You said you didn't see the first half. I thought Everton played very well the first half. I won't say they were dominant, but they certainly give as good as they got. And there was certainly 0-0 at half-time was probably a fair reflection of that first half, to be totally honest with you. I don't think Everton did anything particularly to be leading in that first half. But the second half, they brought it upon themselves. Again, against City, all right, they're going to tire. Of course, they're going to tire for the last, say, third of the game, from about 60, 70 minutes on. Of course, yeah, but they hadn't tired at the start of that second half. And I think the mind switched off a little bit. The mind switched to, we've got a 0-0 here. Let's keep it as a 0-0. I mean, if you do that against teams like City or Liverpool, it doesn't matter who you do it against. It's fatal. It's a fatal error. And Everton made that error of just turning off, tries to defend a 0-0. And because he did very little up front in the second half, in all fairness, Everton. And City, as champions do, as you said there, champions are champions by just finding that little crack. And obviously, it was an Everton defensive error. We'll talk about it in more detail in a minute. And we found that crack. And the only thing that annoyed me about yesterday and made me think that City perhaps didn't deserve it, but hey, that's how it is. That's how it goes round. We got the 3 points on the board. Was the Rodri? Was the Rodri thing? I thought it was an error by Rodri. I thought it was very too cut. What's the word? He just
lackadaisical.
Lack of concentration at a key time in a match when we're a 1-0 up with a few minutes left. We should be shutting that game off. And Rodri really, I thought, let us down a little bit there. And personally, I felt a little bit let down by for a guy of such experience and a guy that we're going to rely on in big games. Don't forget, if we want to win the Champions League, we want to win this league title. We're relying on Rodri now to actually be our key man in front of the defence. If you don't do silly things like that, whether it's rightly or wrongly a penalty, for me, that let it down for me a little bit. So apart from that, I would say City thoroughly as champions deserve the win. That's my little summation of it. But obviously that Rodri incident put a little bit of a dampener on it for me anyway. Anyway, that's my thoughts and Paul's thoughts in brief. Let's have a little bit more in detail. Right, the teams, Paul, I'll just read out the City team before I give you the fun of the Everton team. Ederson, Stones, Diaz, Laporte, Cancelo, Rodri, KDB, Gundogan, Bernardo, Foden, and Sterling. Now, for me in that team, I got 9. I picked 9 of that team. My 2 unusual picks for me. I thought, I still don't understand why Walker wasn't playing. People tell me, well, he's trying to get used to when he's not there. But let's face it, he won't be there for the second leg of the Sporting game. But so what? I mean, we're 5-0 up. Does it matter? We don't need to sort of get used to a new system without him, certainly for that. And the quarter-final is a few games away. So I don't understand that argument of why Walker wasn't playing, in all fairness to you. And obviously, up front, Mahrez is pretty much on fire. Why didn't Mahrez start the game? I mean, that's my thought on the starting 11. I thought those 2 changes were a bit odd to me. I'd have Stones in there every day, don't get me wrong, but I would have played Walker, perhaps Stones and Diaz, or Stones and Laporte. That's what I would have done. What are your thoughts on that?
Totally agree, mate. Totally agree with that. Mahrez, he had to start for me. I don't get the Walker situation. Is there more to it? Is it the fact that he's been reprimanded or whatever? I don't know whether I don't know. I don't understand it. But I would have definitely played.
There might be something behind the scenes we're not aware of that.
I mean, when Mahrez came on and Jesus, it kind of sparked us again, didn't it? We dropped down a little gear and we speeded up our passes, our passing, and we're very lackadaisical. I think, when going back to the Rodri incident, you're spot on with what you say there, because it could have gone the other way. I think the right decision was made, by the letter of the law and all the rest of the stuff. I do think it was the right decision. It's an annoying decision because technically it is still handball. I think he shouldn't have made the error he made. He had plenty of time, and he put us in a situation where it could have gone pear-shaped. He knows what VAR can do. He knows how bad it can be, and he just basically switched off. You saw Diaz going absolutely mad. Basically just clear your lines, and he was going mad at him. So, yeah, I agree. I agree entirely what you've just said. There's not much I can add to it, to be honest. I can just reiterate what you've said. And we just seem to be sloppier than we have been. We seem to be kind of going through the motions a little bit. And then all of a sudden we realise, and then that's when we're scoring our goals, is when that happens. We get a bit of a shock to the system. But, yeah, we didn't need that little... we didn't need that yesterday off Rodri. We don't need stuff like that going on. It's hard watching City as it is, but we don't need stuff like that. My blood pressure's too high as it is.
No, absolutely. And the actual subs bench was pretty good again, mate. We're sort of full squadish, aren't we now? We're getting back. Obviously, we still know Stefan knocking around, which will be interesting when we come talk about another game a little later on. Carson and Slicker, of course, both goalies on the bench. Walker, Aki, Jesus, Grealish, Zinchenko. Great to see the stuff out for Zinchenko before the game. We'll chat a little bit more about him again in a little while. Fernandinho and Mara. So a very strong bench, Paul. There's no problems with that bench. We do have a couple of players perhaps on it that can add to the game, as you say, from that starting 11 that we put out. Everton, let's talk about Everton. I've practiced these names now, mate, so I'm not going to give you any sort of laugh. I probably will, because I practiced them, but I'll still make an error when I read them out.
It's my favourite bit of the show, this. Don't ruin it for me. I look forward to this. It's the only reason I don't get paid for this. I want to come on it. I won't tell everyone this is my favourite bit. Come on.
Let me concentrate. Right. Pickford. Right, no problem with that one. Coleman, Holgate, Keane, Kenny, Alan, not Alan,
Fred
Corey,
is he?
Van der Beek. I mean, I say Van der Beek, but I think they say Van der Beek, don't they?
Sounds familiar, that play, didn't he?
Iwobi, Gordon, who I was quite impressed with, actually. Gordon, you probably, that first half, especially that you didn't see much of, Gordon was exceptional. I quite like Gordon. And Richarlison. So I don't think I've done too much wrong there, mate. Yeah, no. So let's get on to we'll talk about the first half. I know you're not going to say too much about the first half. What impressed me about Everton in that first half, I'll tell you now. I know you probably saw towards the end of the first half, but they played to the strengths. So now we as City are not particularly playing to our strengths. Pep's putting players in square holes in round hole, square pegs in round holes, don't they say that? I think Pep's doing that a little bit. Everton and Lampard obviously played to the strengths. Richarlison, for me, I can't stand the bloke. I think he's absolutely rubbish, but he played to his strengths, and Everton played to the strengths. And he was getting free kicks all over the place because he was just, again, this naivety you talked about before about Rodri. Other players like Laporte and other players were actually just as Diaz. Not Diaz. Diaz was probably okay with it, but other players were being dragged into fouling Richarlison because of the way he sort of stands up and blocks it. We were just going into the back of him, so he's getting free kicks in dangerous spots. All over that first half. And that's what Everton did. They played to the strengths. That Gordon, absolutely. Yeah, if we've got a weakness in that defence, it has to be Stones at right back. I love Stones to bits, but he's not a natural right back. He does an okay job, don't get me wrong. But Everton knew that, and he played against that. And Gordon was superb. That Alan was excellent. He was sort of moving around the middle. So, yeah, that first half, obviously, we'll sum it up in the fact that for Everton played very, very well. We did have a couple of chances, Paul. We did have a couple of chances. KDB had an okay one. Kenny had a great one for them. I don't know if you saw it on highlights or anything, where he was fed through on the left, and I think half of Goodison thought he'd score because obviously at the other side, but he hit the side net and it was pretty poor finish. But I don't think Kenny had actually scored in a game before, so that was no surprise. But then again, typical City, he would usually score against us, wouldn't he, if he's not scored before? So we both had chances. But yeah, I mean, I'll let you. Obviously, that's why I waffled on about this first half. I thought Everton played really well. Any thoughts of any bits you did see of that first half?
Well, no, it's interesting that because I only saw a little bit, to be honest with you. I listened to a bit on the radio as well coming back, and it just sounded the way they were going on. I watched it on BT, and the way they were going on in the studio. Sorry, Sky. The way they were going on in the studio, it was as though Everton were absolutely amazing. And Frank Lampard, when he was doing his summary at the end, he said they were absolutely amazing in the first half. And I'm thinking, well, how amazing could they have been? Because it was 0-0. So that says a lot about City, doesn't it? Then that if they were amazing and it was still 0-0, then they played the best game of the season, but it was still 0-0. So is that what teams expected? They play amazing and keep it to 0-0. Is that how good we are? Makes me wonder.
It was thoroughly deserved. I mean, it's thoroughly deserved that they were 0-0 at half time, but they didn't deserve anything more. That was as simple as that. And for all that Everton played very, very well and denied City space and time, etc. I mean, City weren't quite. We've seen this with City. We can be slow getting out of the blocks. We can actually get out of the blocks very quickly and tear into teams. But usually with City, within 5 or 10 minutes, and I think this was a typical game, we know where we're not quite at it. The pace isn't there, the press isn't there, the speed isn't there. And this was from the first kick. And all credit to Everton. Yes, they did a job on City that first half. And this will take us to the second half, which I sort of said in summation. This is where Everton sort of undid all the good work, really. Obviously, we'll chat about certain things in that second half. I think City up the pace. You probably watched the game. I think Everton. I think we were literally camped in their half that second half, weren't they? Anything? I thought Pickford played very well. Paul, what are your thoughts on say the start of that second half? Obviously, as the game was playing out.
Well, it was a good double save, I think, early on, wasn't he? I'm not sure who the players were that we did the shooting. You might be able to embellish that, but he got down to his left well, and then I think it was Kevin De Bruyne may have had the first shot.
Yeah, Kevin put in, let one loose, he saved it, and then Bernardo obviously came flashing in.
Bernardo, again he got up and saved it. So he's like that, isn't he? I
like Pickford. I think he's a good keeper. I think he's the best English keeper by a long way.
Yeah, I do. I sort of rate him, really.
He wouldn't fit for us because his distribution's awful. He wouldn't fit for us, but as a stopper, as a Joe Hart type stopper, if you like, he's good.
Yeah. No, he is. He's good at that. And when he's on it, he's one of those players that you can't beat. And when he's on his day, you struggle to get around it. But no, I think we had plenty of opportunity. Pickford kept us at bay, really. But like you said there, he said what tends to happen with teams, what we don't realise as non-professional footballers, obviously highly tuned athletes, but as non-professional footballers, is that how much it takes out of you when you're having to press and when you've not got the ball. When you've not got the ball, you're running 3-4 times as far as you would if you've got the ball. And we keep possession so well, and it tires teams out. I mean, look at Tottenham. They had their game of the season and then got stuffed the next game because probably they were tired. They were probably knackered after running around, having their game of the season. So how many teams have beat us and then got beat the game after? And I'm convinced it's down to the fact that they're fatigued and it's took it out of them mentally as well, because it's not easy mentally staying on the ball for 90 minutes, and that's where the problem came for the goal. 2 players, one was wrong-footed, if you like, and the other one just didn't clear his lines because he got out of position. So, I think it's down. It does take its toll on a lot of teams chasing with the possession that City have.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think Everton, I think you expect them to tire from 60, 70 minutes. And I think the fact before then they did play a little bit more defensively and didn't come out in the same frame of mind that they started the first half, obviously worked against them. Interesting with substitutions, though. I don't think Frank Lampard made them too early. Obviously, he let it go a little bit longer, perhaps, than many thought he would with his subs. But certainly Pep, I mean, obviously before the goal, it was the 77th minute before Pep made us. Now we know he makes substitutions on 60. I think the difference with this game is I think we're in the ascendancy. I think we're putting a lot of pressure on Everton. He didn't want to break up the flow. So in all fairness to Pep and his defence, but there were certain players, and you probably saw a lack of him in that second half, and he didn't score very high in people's ratings. There's a certain player on that pitch that for me, if Mancini had been in charge, would have been off probably after about 20 minutes because he was absolutely adding nothing to our strike. I mean, I don't want to pick on the guy because he's actually picked up recently, but Raheem Sterling, I don't know if it's Merseyside, I'm not too sure what the problem is, but he was absolutely abysmal. I mean, for most City fans, he should have been off at half-time. For most City fans, he should have been off at 60 minutes. And yes, we were pressing that second half, but it was the 77th minute before he changed anything. He put Mahrez on, who we wanted on from the start, or most City fans did. Obviously, in Jesus, we brought on, obviously, an extra pair of legs to be a nuisance to Everton. But What's the thinking behind that, Paul? 77 minutes? I mean, as I said, I can understand it because we were pressing them and we didn't want to ruin that flow. But when you got Sterling wasn't contributing to that pressure, he was as awful the second half as he was the first half. I mean, what reason? Any ideas?
I don't know. It's a tough one with Sterling because he can be an absolute nuisance. And a lot of he's one of them players, again, that because other players on the opposition know what he's capable of.
If he's on the pitch, they're wary of him sort of situation.
Yeah, it's like Kevin De Bruyne when he's not quite on it. But Kevin De Bruyne is a different sort of class of player for me. But I don't get Sterling. I don't know what goes on with him. And, he's 1 week he can be unplayable. The next week he shouldn't be playing. And, I think at this stage of the season now, this is the business end, isn't it? This is where we need to keep the pressure on and keep winning these games. You've got to throw sentiment out the window, and he can't play into this team now. He's had a season that's too erratic, and Mahrez is consistently playing well. You've got to have him in that starting lineup if he's fit, and he doesn't get injured very often. Mahrez, does he? To be honest, I can't remember an injury he's had.
Sterling does it in all fairness, but
no.
If he's not in form, it doesn't make any difference, does it?
No. I hate to say this, but sometimes you wish he might have pulled a little bit of an injury, so Pep doesn't have that decision to make because he's not fit. And then he has to play somebody else. Again, down that left-hand side there, you've got a Grealish, and I don't think he would have done anything yesterday. The form he's been in, I don't think he'd have changed.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of feel as I'm picking on Sterling a little bit, but I just thought in a game where a lot of them didn't show anything, I thought he was by far the worst culprit. I agree.
Listen, on this show and any other podcast I'm on, I say it as I see it. I don't have a fan. I'm not a fanboy. I don't have a favourite. Obviously, no, I have a favourite player and stuff like that. But if my favourite player isn't performing, then I'll say it. And I say what I see. And just because, I don't get on players' backs, I just say it as, and you do, Bernard, we say it as we see it. We're just honest. I think anyone who's only a fanboy out there would say, any different. We're surmising a game up as we see it. Or not see it is the first half in my case. You don't have to justify it, Bernie. You don't have to say you're having to go.
Yeah, it's all opinions, isn't it? It's all opinions. Yeah, I mean, obviously, exactly. we'll come on to Rodri again before we finish. But obviously, I get a bit of stick on some negatives. But I thought I've been quite positive for Rodri on my own little thing that I do this season. It's only the last 3 or 4 games I've thought he's gone off a little bit, and I get criticised. But that's it. You put your head above the parapet. You're going to get shots at, and you have to take that. It's all opinions. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. And sometimes I try and be devil's advocate. I don't always agree. I don't always totally agree with what I say. I just try and put stuff out there to get reactions and get people to discuss things. And that's how it should be, I think.
That's your job as a host of a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I know everyone's I don't think we want to go too much, but digress a little bit. But obviously, Sam Lee's had a bit of problem this week, hasn't he? And I think he does the same. He's not a City fan, but he does actually say things that rile City fans, and he riles me up. But again, I think that sometimes with him, I think that's what he's doing. He's obviously wants the clicks. He wants the content, and we all try and be as honest as we can. But sometimes it's good to just step aside and sort of just throw a grenade and see what happens. see what happens.
Yeah, I think with Sam Lee, to be honest with you, he's blocked me. Right. He just doesn't like me. I think he's baldest, if I'm being honest. To be honest with you, the guy's got a job to do. I don't agree with the way some people do go about the business, though. I mean, you get people like Martin Samuels, who he's right down the middle. He says what he sees, and he's honest. He doesn't need to have clickbait where this athletic lot at the moment, they just seem to be. It's as though they've just. I can imagine a meeting this week. They'll have had a Zoom meeting. Sam Lee's boss will have sat down. And I said, listen, Sam, your interactions are a bit low this week. What you need to do is throw an hand grenade in, get them City fans riled. And he might have turned around and said, well, I don't want to do that because I'll get a load of stick. And he'll say, well, if you don't do it, You know, you're going working for the Sun next week. So he's had to do it. And you know, it's nothing. It's never anything personal with Sam Lee. You know, the fact he's a rag, it kind of goes against me grain. I think you should have a City correspondent.
Yeah, well, I'm like that with the evening news. It always annoys me with the evening news when you think we had people like Paul Hinds back in the day, and I think there's another guy, I can't remember his name now. Is it Gardner, Peter Gardner? I think he was a big City fan as well. Yeah. And now we've got, no offence to Stuart Brennan or Mr. Pekowski at the Manchester Evening News, but they're both basically United fans reporting on City. And it does annoy me in this day and age. I'm sure there are City quality journos out there that could be used. But anyway, let's carry on, Paul. Let's forget about that, Paul.
I just want an honest. It shouldn't really matter who you are.
Well, yeah, Stuart Brennan and Pekowski. I know Stuart with them. They're pretty fair,
Yeah. It shouldn't matter really who. Yeah. You don't want an unbiased opinion. You don't want a biased opinion. You want a partisan opinion.
We can choose, can't we? If we want a biased opinion, we know who to listen to. If we want a totally anti-City opinion, we know who to listen to because we just know. Is
Paddy Crerand still doing it?
I mean, there's nothing better than a Paddy Crerand, Mike Summerby row, wasn't it?
They used to be good. They should have a podcast, MC. That'd be brilliant. Yeah.
Right, back to the game, mate. Well, digressed a little bit. Yeah, we did score a goal. Obviously, as a result of Pep's substitution, about 5 minutes later, whether it had a big bearing on it, I'm not, I'll give credit to Pep, but it's neither here nor there. And I think you mentioned it before, but a good, well-taken goal, mate.
I think it was. I mean, to be honest with you, you watched it at full speed, and it beautiful 2-foot touch, really, wasn't it? He brought it with his right and finished it with his left, and. Great. A
lot of players would have just swung first time at that, wouldn't they? But yeah. Phil just casually sort of give himself a little, took control of it first before calmly slotting it in and Pickford had a great game.
He had no chance.
No,
he had no chance at that. Not absolutely no chance. So no, it was brilliant, and I think the pressure we were putting him under, I think it was well deserved as well. It was coming, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just one mistake. I mean, the commentators were saying it coming. I think we all said it was coming, as I said, even allowing for the fact of whether we thought Sterling should have been dragged off early or not. I mean, we were putting them under pressure. They couldn't get out of their own half, let's be honest with you. And it was going to be a mistake, and it was a mistake. I mean, it took a deflection, I think, from a Bernardo cross initially. And then obviously, as the Everton defender, he just sort of nudged it on, didn't he? And obviously, Phil Foden wonderfully placed on his shoulders to take advantage of anything. He's great, and that's where I want to see people like Phil Foden and Bernardo in the box where they can take advantage of things like this. This is what we want to see. So for me, mate, at 82 minutes, I was pretty confident. That was game over. We might even nick another one because I didn't think Everton had the power to come back at that stage. The heads were down, the fans were down, which they're bound to be after such a sucker punch. They've been pretty good all game. The Everton fans, all credit to them. City fans, again, you could hear them a lot of the game as well. But obviously, we've touched upon Mr. Rodri, haven't we? We won't go into any great thing now. Obviously, it's been and gone. City have got the 3 points. Yes, I've seen 4 stop camera images of this, and 3 of them were inconclusive. So, and one looked like handball, but it could have been a foot from his arm because it's from behind. So you can't tell how far away it's from his arm anyway. But for me, yes, at the time, I thought this is going to go to VAR. This is going to be for him to look at the camera and he might give this. And that was my honest thought at the time. I thought he would give a penalty. And I was so angry with Rodri for his total incompetence in that situation. The lack of calmness, the lack of the naivety, which I think was showing at times at the moment. A lot of City players, not just Rodri, other City players are showing it as well. That really depressed me. But on the base of it, if I was an Everton fan, I would have been devastated. But these things, as we say, Paul, supposed to even out, aren't they? Supposed to swings and roundabouts. We've had enough duff ones in the past, so I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Are you the same, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. It's over a season, it does pan itself out. It just seems sometimes it seems to always happen to us. If there's a dodgy decision, that's why
we seem to be getting more of the rub of the green now, don't we, Paul? Is that just? I think initially we used to suffer a lot, but we seem to be getting a lot more of the run of the ball now and a lot more of the decisions.
I think we do. We get more of the decisions, but I think apart from yesterday, I think the decisions that actually affect the score or the way the game's flowing seems to still go against us. But listen, we all moan about it. VAR's not perfect, but I think yesterday, I mean, they kept showing the replay on the TV, and it was the one from behind, and for me, they kept saying, "Oh, the ball spun up, the ball spun up." Well, yeah, it did, but the frame it was at, it was still coming up, and the cameras aren't that sort of brilliant. Like, goal line technology has so many frames per second. The ones that look in VAR has so many, and there are a lot less frames per second. So within a split second, it can look like it's on your sleeve, but really it's him on the chest because it's on the way up. So, listen, I'd be gutted. I'd be gutted the other way around, but I have been gutted on many occasions with VAR decisions. So it makes a change, and happy days.
Yeah. Well, I was pleasantly surprised, let's say, when it didn't go for the ref to go over to the monitor and it said check over, because the longer it went on, you just thought, oh God, it's going to go over to the monitor.
Yeah,
he goes over to the monitor. He's probably going to give it, because even one of the angles looked as though it was a definite handball, as opposed, even though some of the others didn't, and that was it. But as I say, it's the Premier League have said it's nothing to do. Obviously there was an offside apparently before that, so. That was the interesting thing, wasn't it? I mean, if it had been given as a handball, how far would they have gone back? Remember that United one a few weeks ago, where they went back about half an hour to find something that happened? We wouldn't have got that offside, would we, mate? Because he wouldn't have looked further back than that handball, because that's how they do it. So we did get away with it, but we did, in another way, I'm sure if it had been the other way around, we would have lost out if it had been deemed as a handball. They wouldn't have checked for the offside, in my opinion.
I think it was a correct decision. If I'm being honest, and if it had happened the other way, I'd have been gutted. But if you're being honest, by the letter of the law, with the green and the red areas, the shirt sleeves, and perhaps
I think the area goes to the elbow now, doesn't
it? yeah, exactly. Wear long sleeve shirts, and it saves all messy.
I think we're agreed, though, that Rodri was a bit naive, because there was no need for it for a start. He wasn't under any pressure. There was a City player behind him, and he just had a rush of blood. And all right, in his defence, these things can happen. And certainly when you we weren't hanging on, were we? I mean, Everton had just pumped it forward, and, it wasn't as though it was all backs to the wall, was it? But we sort of lasted. We got through it. I would have liked to see
the win.
Yeah, that's it. 3 points on the board.
Let's have it right.
Just to give Everton, obviously Everton are a bit gutted about that. A point would have been handy, of course it would. But I've just had a quick look at what they've got coming up in the league. And I sort of was speaking to an Everton fan a little bit ago about it. And obviously the next 4 games, they've got Spurs away, Wolves at home, Newcastle at home, and Watford away. So I think they can be confident if they play anything like they played yesterday against City, that they can get at least 8 to 10 points out of those, which will set them up nicely by the start of April to get safety. I think if they carry on in the same vein, I think they'll be fine. Just looking at those games that they've got coming up, and they've got games in hand of the teams directly above them as well, mate. So I think Everton obviously just be a bit upset they didn't get a point yesterday, but at the end of the day, there's no guarantee they'd score the penalty, is there? I mean, it's just it's a totally different game if it has been awarded a penalty. There's no guarantee that would have happened, or even City could have got up the other end and scored a winner anyway. We know what it's like. It doesn't mean anything. But I think Everton, Paul, for you, are they okay? I think they will be okay, but they've got to perform in these next 3 or 4 games.
I hope they are, to be honest, because, I feel a bit of an affinity with Everton. I hate Liverpool, but, the Everton, some of it, the people on Twitter that I interact with and stuff, Everton fans, and that's the guy with the Speedos. He's a good lad. So, I hope Everton do stay up. As I say, they're kind of like we've been against, the red side. They're like the blue side of Liverpool, as we're the blue side of Manchester. And we've kind of been in each other's shadows for a bit, haven't we? And we've now, whereas we've overtaken the red side, they're still in the shadows a bit, aren't they? So, I like Everton. I like Everton. Plus, my grandson used to play at their academy as well, so I've got to like him, haven't I?
You have indeed. I mean, my son used to go out with what was it? The link to Everton. He used to go out with a girl whose uncle played in the FA Cup final against United when they won it. I can't remember his name now, but he's not with her anymore. But obviously, he played in that FA Cup final. Her uncle of a girl that my lad went out with for a couple of years. But that's my only real connection. Apart from Paul Power, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Paul Power,
yeah.
Paul Power used to, apparently on my wife's side was a cousin, but I have no idea if that was true or not. But Everton, as you say.
Trevor Ross used to drink in my local in in Bardsley, so he used to live round the corner from me, Trevor Ross. So we used to have a beer with him in the Diamond and the Horseshoe in Bardsley.
So in conclusion, I think Everton will be okay. It's not going to be easy, of course it's not, but I think they got the right manager. I think they got the right manager in Lampard to keep them. The dogs of war attitude, which is certainly what Lampard probably has, and that's what has always saved Everton in the past. As far as City are concerned, I think we'll have to be a hell of a lot better.
I think we're safe, aren't we? We're not going to get relegated, so I think we're safe.
Yeah,
so
I think we're more or less safe than that. I think we needed 3 points, didn't we? I think we've got it, so we're all right.
Yeah, I think we're right
I don't think the bottom three can catch us now. I might be wrong, or it might just be Norwich who can't catch us. I can't remember now. We talked about it last week. A lot of water's gone under the bridge since then. So we will have to do better, of course, than we did. But I thought the second half showing was fairly good, considering the team and the fact to say I think Pep's trying to get different guys to do different roles in City at the moment. But overall, it's 3 points. That's all we can ask at this stage of the season, with Liverpool breathing down our necks, and let's see what happens. Right, let's go on. Let's move on. Let's talk the FA Cup. I quite like I like cup games. I like cup games up to about the semis and the finals. I don't get as het up. I don't get as nervous about cup games as I do about league games, whether we're 10 points clear, 20 points clear, or behind on goal difference. I don't get as worn out with cup games. And we've got a cup game against Peterborough United. We've only played them once before, mate. I was there, so we're literally going to have 2 games now because I'll be there on Tuesday night as well. So there's not many teams I can say we played against. I've been at every game. There's not many teams I can say that about. And Peterborough United are one of those teams. Obviously on the 1st of March at the Western Home Stadium. It used to be the old London Road Stadium, but like us, they make the money how you can, mate. If you get money for renaming your ground, then that's all fair and good for me. I don't worry too much about that. So Peterborough United versus Manchester City. I assume you were far too young to remember much about the very first meeting back in 1981, Paul?
No. I'm 52, so I certainly didn't go to it. I can't even remember it. I can't remember what a game.
Tommy Booth scored the only goal of the game.
I've obviously seen it because of the fact that we've got them in the cup, so I've seen bits on it and stuff like that, and it's a bit of a chance for us to. Not be blasé about it, but it's a bit of a chance, to play some of our. I don't know if we can call them fringe players these days, but it's a bit of a chance.
I'll give you my little team in a bit, and then I'll ask your opinions on it when we in a few moments.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know much about Peterborough.
Just Peterborough. I mean, to get to this stage, Peter, they beat Bristol Rovers at home. They beat them 2-1. Then they beat Queen's Park Rangers 2-0, which was a good result. Obviously, they're struggling, mate, at the moment. Struggling in the league, Paul, at the moment. They are bottom. They're below Derby, and Derby got about 100 points took off them. So, to be below Derby isn't very, very good.
It's not good, that, is it? No.
You've got to be struggling. You've got to be struggling to be below Derby. As I said, got all those points taken off them at the start. Obviously, start and during the season, of course. And of course, they got beat by Hull yesterday, as we're recording this. Obviously, on the Saturday, as we're recording this, so they lost 3-0 to Hull. But they played well against Fulham the week before. They've actually gone to Fulham, Craven Cottage, a team we beat in the fourth round, and they actually only lost 2-1 at Fulham. So they did okay in that game. They played quite well, but they're in trouble. But what, from your point of view, Paul? This sort of game, you call it a free hit, isn't it? This is the very, very, very basis for a free hit. As a player in that squad, would you look forward to this? I would. What a challenge. You can put the thoughts of safety in the Championship to one side just for a game. The fans will be up for it. There's no doubt, Paul, the fans will be up for it on Tuesday night. And as a player, you'd look forward to this sort of game, wouldn't you, Paul?
I certainly would. Yeah, you'd. This is their cup final, isn't it? They could have got some. No disrespect to any football team, obviously. They could have got some lower team. They're playing the champions of England at their ground. The probably chances are it doesn't matter who they would have played in this round. They probably would have gone out in this round. So if you're going to play somebody, let's play the champions of England and, make a name for yourself. This is a chance to become a club legend in a season that's going pretty poor for you. You could actually make a name for yourself, score against City, or do something decent against City, keep a save a penalty or whatever. You're going to be, go down in folklore, aren't you? So this is your chance to be the man on the day, isn't it? And it sounds like they've been saving themselves, doesn't it? Getting beaten. It's that again, typical City, playing a team bottom of the league, and they've been beaten week in, week out, and then they come to City. Honestly, I know it should be a gimme, but you don't know, do you? You've got to respect the opposition.
In the league, they've won one of the last 19 games. Mr. Ferguson. Mr. Ferguson is no longer there, which is a shame. I wouldn't have minded give stuffing in, but it could have worked the other way around, couldn't it? He actually went last week, which was not a surprise considering the position they're in. They're actually 8 points from safety at the moment, and he can't, on the run they're having at the moment in the league, you can't see him getting out of this. You can't see him surviving, which obviously the Peterborough fans would be a great shame, of course. Let's talk about the team. Let's talk about the lineup. Let's talk about this lineup. I've got an interesting one. I've done my little show, and I've sort of come up with a few interesting players. I think basically, apart from one of the two keepers that were on the bench against Everton, our last game, I think all those players on the bench will start the game that were on the bench. I think all of them. So I'll give you the team in a minute. But there are some interesting ones. I mean, we've got to talk Zinchenko, haven't we? We've got to talk Mr. Zinchenko and obviously the situation he is and other players, obviously, everybody of Ukrainian descent. I mean, for me, some people have been saying, how can his mind be on football, etc., etc. I think, and we talked off there, as you said, he should be captain for this. I think he should be playing in this, and I think he wants to play in this. I think that's more importantly, whether, and I think he'll get a wonderful reception as he did at Goodison Park, warming up, etc. I think he'll get a great reception from the Peterborough and the City fans down there, of course, on Tuesday evening. So I think Zinchenko, mate, is a definite shoo-in for this, for starting. I think he wants to play it. He wants to put a sort of two fingers up to certain other people. Do you agree with that sentiment, Paul?
Absolutely, totally. And that was so moving, that yesterday. I didn't see the bit live at the beginning, but when he was coming off at the end, and he was moved, wasn't he? And it moved me, to be honest. And I don't think there's a person out there that wouldn't have moved. You must have a stone cold steel heart if that didn't move you. I mean, what he must be going through, he's got his loved ones out there and what have you. And the last thing he wants to be doing is sat on a bench thinking about things. He don't want to be sat at home in his flat thinking about things. He wants to be on that pitch thinking about football, because the best thing to do when you've got a problem is to go and do something to take your mind off it. And that's what he needs. That is, anybody who's saying like, oh, the last thing you want, no, that's nonsense. The last thing he wants to be doing is sat on a bench watching a game. He wants to be doing his thing. And I hope to God he scores a left foot screamer and he lifts his shirt high above his head with an FU Putin on it. That'd be fantastic. And if the referee books him, shame on him.
Well, as long as he don't take his shirt off, I think he'll be all right. I don't think he'll get booked. So.
Yeah.
Right, let's have a look at the team. Let's have a look at the starting lineup. Peterborough versus City. Then now I don't think he's going to play Edison, even though Stefan's injured. He's not going to play Edison, is he? Surely, mate. I don't think he'll do that. So he's left. I'd
love to see Carson.
But also, why not Slicker? I'm thinking. Yeah. I mean, I'm hedging towards Carson, but Slicker. I mean, he would be up for it. He'd love this game. He's only a young lad playing for the first team. I mean, I've had a couple of debuts at goalkeeper where, to be honest with you, there've been pressure situations. I've played brilliantly. I played crap afterwards. Don't get me wrong, in the games after. But debuts, I've always been, I think the adrenaline, the actual thing of it. I think Slicker would do a tremendous job. I am like you. I am leaning towards Carson, but he did get a game against Newcastle last year. So I mean, why give it? Put Slicker in. I think Slicker. I have gone with Carson, but there's no reason why Slicker couldn't be in.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd just like to see Carson get his one goal of the one game of the season. So that'd be nice. But no, as you say, I'd have no qualms. Whatever.
Yeah, I think either of them two. I don't think there'll be any problem for City with either. Well, there might be a problem for City. Peterborough, as I said, it's a free hit. They can, they might surprise us. It might be another Halifax Town, God forbid, or even a Wigan. They might turn into another Wigan for us. You never know. That's the problem. So yeah, I think we're happy with Carson. But as I said, if Slicker's in, it's not too much of a problem. And the back four, mate, I've gone for. I've got to play Walker, surely. I know he's got to play him. Surely he's got to play him. He's not going to put the kids in. He never does Pep. He might put one or two in. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I've got Walker, Aki, Stones, and obviously Zinchenko as my back four. Any thoughts on that? Any disagreement with that?
No, not at all.
I'd love to see Stones. I think that's why I put him as centre half with Aki. If he doesn't play Walker, then yeah, he might play Stones at right back again for some unknown reason. But if Walker does play, I just want Stones and Aki as the partnership.
I might be wrong on this. I might have dreamt it, but I think the only chance that the kids have got in the defence is if they put all four of them out. I think one game they put four of them in.
The Wickham game at the. I thought, and they played very, very well as a unit.
They did because they're a unit and they play week in, week out together. They don't mix about in the EDS, does it? He doesn't.
No.
They don't mess about with the team. So it's an established back four that knew what they were doing. Especially if you're going to be playing, if you could play Slicker, play the back five. That's the only time I think you're going to see them played is if they all play, which would be nice to see, obviously, but.
I'd agree with that, yeah, to be honest with you. Ferner, definitely in front. Not going to play Rodriguez. He's going to play Ferner in front of the back four. The interesting one is obviously the midfield, isn't it, mate? Obviously, I would aim that he's going to rest KDB, Foden and Bernardo, to be honest with you. I don't think which should leave a hole for McAtee to fit in, interestingly enough, even though he might want to play a bit forward. He might be all right with Gundogan in the middle there. What do you think of that?
Yeah, no, I'd like to see them both, Gundogan and McAtee. I'd like to see them both in there. To be honest, I think that could be nice. That.
Yeah, and up front, I think it picks itself. All right, it'd be nice to see Delap given a chance, but I don't think he'll play Delap. I think he'll be on the bench. I don't think Stern will get a game in this, so I'm going for the three who didn't start, obviously against Everton, which was Jesus, Grealish, and Mahrez as a front three. I don't think he's going to take any chances. No,
and it's that's a good enough front three, and he needs to play himself into form. Grealish, doesn't he? I know he's been injured, but it's his chance to go again now. Isn't it? If he's fully fit, this could be a chance to make a marker, couldn't it? Against Peterborough. So he does need to do a little bit extra. I think now he's been in the club long enough. Now he needs to start tearing a few little trees up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I totally agree with that. As far as the bench, I would imagine he will stick 3 or 4 of the regulars on it just in case, and he'll stick hopefully 2 or 3 of the kids on it as well, just to give them a chance if things are going well and actually bring them on at some stage, as he always has liked to do with some of the younger lads. If we're winning 3 or 4-0 or something, fingers crossed. To say no, never any guarantees in life, but you wouldn't mind bringing a couple of the the Lavias of this world on and people like that to have a go at this. Cakey, even if he ends up on the bench, stuff like that. So it'll be interesting anyway. As I say, and hopefully Peterborough and the fans will enjoy it. They'll come out with it with some credit, not too much credit, mind you, because we don't want them to win this. Charity does begin at home. We don't want Peterborough to turn us over. A 1-0 as it was in 1981, which, to be honest with you, I was there. I rewatched some of the highlights, Paul, the other day, and I'll be honest with you, they battered us the first half. They were all over us. We got a goal against a run of play, in all fairness, although the second half was a bit more controlled by City. But yeah, we're lucky to get away with the 1-0 back in 1981. Hopefully it'll be a little bit less close this time in 2022. Right, we'll talk about. We're going to have a little preview now, a little quick chat on a certain game that all City fans look forward to, or not, as the case may be. We're going to talk Manchester City against that lot across the road. Yeah, I'll call them Manchester United. I'll give them the proper name. We'll say that. They're 19 points behind us as we come into this game. Obviously, they're no threat to us. There's only one team of a real threat to us, perhaps two if Chelsea go on a run. So, but the problem is, Paul, we're not doing very well against this lot at our place. We can stuff them at their place, no problem whatsoever. But somehow Pep has got big problems against United at the Etihad. And we don't need him to have big problems this week. We need City just to go out there and do the business, which we should do, can do on paper. Unfortunately, we're playing on grass, as they say. I think the last 5 games... Sorry, what is it? Let me just have a look. The last games at the Etihad... let's have a look. Yeah, we've played 7 under Pep. We've lost 5. This includes any cup games as well. We've won 1 and drawn 1. That is shocking, Paul. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts and hopes for this one?
Well, hopefully we'll win. I hate Derby Day. I totally hate it. It sends me to that dark place of when I was a kid, and I just hate it. I've said it every time a derby comes up. I hate Derby days. I don't know what it is. Is it since we've built the Tunnel Club? Do they have a picture of Alex Ferguson or something on the wall?
I think it's since Pep, mate. I think, honestly, I've looked back. It's since Pep came. We've struggled.
Does he overthink it? Does he?
But why can we go to Old Trafford and stuff them there just as many times as they do us?
I honestly don't know. It can only be the Tunnel Club, and as they come down the stairs to go to the pitch, there's somebody pulling a Mooney at the play. I don't know. It's got to be something to do with the Tunnel Club. I don't know. I haven't a clue because, the team's no different. I think it might just be the fact that Liverpool, that United get up for it that much. I can only think that's what it is. I really can. I can't. There's no reason for it.
Yeah, I mean, the saving grace is obviously United also have to play Liverpool at some stage. But I mean, having said that, I think they drew with them last year, didn't they, when we wanted them to get a result, which is fair enough. But yeah, I mean, you just know they'll let us down this year, unfortunately, and do the business against us. I mean, their form isn't terrific, let's be honest about it. But that doesn't form doesn't really goes out the window, doesn't it? Normally with that, certainly. Derby games where City are the dominant thing. I mean, I remember years ago, everyone said, a derby. When we used to play United when we were crap, we used to get beat. I mean, form never went out the window. We used to get beat. It was as simple as that. Obviously, it's not so much the case now. But they drew with Watford, obviously, the last league game. Obviously, they had an okay win against Leeds away, which they made hard work of. They beat Brighton at home 2-0, which was no great shakes. And they drew with the Southampton at home and Burnley away, so their form isn't fantastic. 2 wins and 3 draws from the last 5 league games. Of course, they'll be up for this. Mr. Ragnick will have them up for this game. Of course, he will. And the United fans will be up for it as they always are. They'll be confident in work. And I can't argue with him. I really can't go toe to toe and say, yeah, I'm optimistic of City winning this. We have to win it, Paul, don't we? We have to win this, Paul. Yeah. There's no excuses, is there, mate?
And it'll be if we do win it, it'll be sweet. I'll be celebrating like mad if we do win this one because I'm very nervous about it. Normally, it doesn't really mean anything, does it? We're at the stage normally where it doesn't mean out. We're normally that far in front. We play them and we get beat by them. I'm not that bothered really because our bragging right, the bragging rights are out the window, aren't they? We're 19 points clear of them at the moment. And I was just a bit concerned at the amount of goal scoring opportunities they create. And I think yesterday they created 22 chances. 22 shots on goal or something. So the amount of opportunities they create, they just don't seem to be finishing them. And I just hope they don't come into form when they play us. But I just don't see. I don't even know how they're playing. I just hear the result the next morning. I go to bed and they'll be winning 1-0, and I wake up next morning and it's quiet on Twitter, so I know that they've drawn or got beat. So I don't really follow them as such because I don't see them as a rival or nothing anymore. They're a hindrance.
As you say, it's one of those games that is important to us. It is important to them, of course. It is from a winning the game point of view, but it's so important. Not the fact of beating United, but the fact that we need to beat United to keep the pressure on Liverpool. We need. I think they play the day before, so they'll be back within 3 points of us if they win. I don't think they've got. I think West Ham at home. I think they've got Liverpool, so it's not particularly game that they should lose. So it is again. We need to win it just for ourselves, and I don't really care that it's United. We just need to win every game as such. I mean, that sort of brings us on to his team, doesn't it? I mean, I do expect a slightly changed team to the Everton, the last home league game. I'm going to shout out a team here for you, Paul, to play United. Let me know what you think of this. Obviously, no doubt about Ederson in goal. I mean, I dread to think he's going to start Stones as right back. I think Stones struggled against Everton, against that lad Gordon. I dread to think what he'll do against United. But they're not great form, but they've got players who can hurt you. They've definitely got players who can just turn it on for that, one game in the same way Tottenham can. They can just turn it on for that one game. They've got players that can hurt us. So I dread to think if he carries on this experiment with Stones as right back. I want to see Walker. And I am going to go Diaz and Laporte only on the basis that I know Pep will play that rather than Diaz and Stones. I want Stones in there all the time, but I just think he'll stick with Diaz and Laporte. And of course, it's a sort of no-brainer that Cancelo, even though his form's been a little bit down for me, he's going to be left back. Are you in agreement with that back five, if you like?
Yeah, unless if Zinchenko does play during the week and he has an absolute blinder, then you don't know, do you? But I think if we're going off what we know now, then I'd say Cancelo's he's a shoe in there, isn't he?
Yeah. Obviously, Rodri's going to be back. Let's hope he practices keeping his arm, like this for the week. He's practicing keeping his arms behind his back. I think
run around in handcuffs. Yeah, run around in handcuffs all week.
This is the sort of game that Rodri can bypass him a little bit. So I want to see a bit from Rodri in this game, to be honest with you. And then it leaves, obviously, the midfield and, the 5 midfielders. We don't have a striker, do we? So it's the 5 guys who are going to be roaming around, changing positions and messing about. And my 5, basically, it's got to be Foden, who's probably one of our informed players at the moment. There's no doubt about that. Bernardo, again, how can you not play Bernardo? Hopefully he'll play him in a position where he can be more effective. But again, I'm not 100% sure of that. KDB is obviously an obvious one, isn't he? I mean, there's nobody else. But obviously, an interesting one to front, isn't it? I mean, will he play Sterling even though he didn't have the greatest game against Everton? Is he going to start Mahrez that he didn't do last time? I mean, what are your thoughts about that sort of midfield attacking front 5, if you like?
He's got to play Mahrez. He's got to play Mahrez. I wouldn't have I'd have Sterling on the bench, obviously, but I wouldn't have him starting. We need to hit the ground running. We need to be bang at him.
So who would you put in for Sterling then? Would you play Grealish or Jesus? I've not put Gundogan in there either. What do you think? There's a room for him in it?
I don't know whether Gundogan and KDB can.
It slows it all. Rodri, KDB, Gundogan. Everyone says it just slows the whole thing down. We can't do that. United have got pace. I mean, they can harm us around that midfield.
No, we need to be zipping that ball about, and I don't think we can have Gundogan in there to do that. I'd like to see Jesus because I think when he does play, he is a pain. His goal scoring's not brilliant, but what he does off the ball, and he's a nuisance, isn't he? And he'll certainly make their defence worry.
I think, we won't know when we're doing this vlog, obviously, about Jesus. But if he has a good game in the FA Cup, if he plays in the FA Cup, because Jesus needs minutes as well. He's a great player, and I would prefer him to Sterling on the basis if he's okay, if he's up for it. Obviously, if Jesus isn't getting the game time and he has not played in the FA Cup game, which we don't know about, I would probably think Pep will stick with Sterling.
Unfortunately. Yeah, I think you're right. And I hope if he does play, he gets an hat-trick.
Let's face it, we know Sterling's KO. He's been playing very, very well. He didn't have a great game against Everton, but there's not many City players did, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
Foden had the best game, and I only rated Foden about 6.5 out of 10, and he was our best player. It doesn't mean much. I mean, Sterling we can all have off games, and Sterling can terrify defences. We know we can. United's defence isn't great, as we know. All right, they've got a good keeper. Don't get me wrong, he'll probably save them time and time again because he is a good keeper. It's similar to Pickford for me. Shot stopper, etc. Is brilliant. Obviously, De Gea. He fought his way back from being dropped, and that Henderson lad coming in. So all credit to him. He's worked hard to get back as the first team. So I think we're saying, Paul. Then we're going with Edison, Walker, Diaz, Laporte, Cancelo. Although we wouldn't be disappointed if Stones is in there as a centre half rather than a right back. I don't think we want that. Rodri, and obviously the moving five. I think, which I like.
We can call them,
every 15 minutes, he should swap these guys around. I think that'd be the best bet. Foden, Bernardo, KDB, Sterling, which fingers crossed he can hit some form again. And Mahrez, who seems to be the guy that gets left behind. Are we sort of going with that for a win against United?
You'd be more than happy with that, wouldn't you? You'd have to be. We always say this, that if the team performs how it can do, then we haven't got anything to worry about because we will beat United. But we've got to perform and we've got to be switched on for 90 minutes. We can't be switching off at all. We did it last time. We was 2-0 up at half-time, weren't we? And then Pogba sort of 10-minute masterclass kind of.
Well, the negative thing for me is obviously the negative thing is United's form at our place. The fact that Pep seems to have a sort of total blackout when we play United at our place. And also, I don't think, based on what I've seen of City of the last couple of league games, that all our players are quite doing it at the moment. So that's a little bit of a worry. But as I said, that's perhaps a combination of not being played in the best position and also just being a little bit out of form. And against United, it's going to be a high-pressure game. That's for sure. We don't, Edison's, I love Edison to bits, but I mean, these high pressure games, I always worry about what he's going to do. Is he going to run out of his goal and do something stupid? Is it, and that's my problem. I think he's improved, but he's still got a tendency to do that. But we need our key players. We need Cancelo. The nearly man, I call him at the moment, to produce just that little better cross. We need that little better, little dribble he goes on just to end in something. And we need people like Rodri to step up again and start being the player that he was certainly for the first start of this season. He's been playing excellently, but I think he's gone off the boil a little bit again. But as I said, he's not alone. I think a few of the players has. So, like you, I think we have to be at it. If we're not at it, we're going to lose this as well, and we can't. We don't want to lose this from a personal point of view for it being a derby. We don't want to lose this from the league point of view and winning this Premier League, because if we lose this, I think psychologically the advantage to Liverpool will be tremendous. Certainly, if it's very close coming into that Etihad game.
Totally.
I think Klopp. If he needs, I think Klopp has the ability to be a bit bottly at the Etihad, and it depends in what position we're in at the time, and we'll talk about obviously when it comes to that. But we still need to keep that pressure on, because Klopp will play accordingly. He's got the ability to be a bit negative, that'll cost him, or he's got the ability to be positive, which will cost us. So there's a lot of water, Paul, to go under the bridge before that. But let's hope for a win against United. That's the only thing we can do, mate. Any final thoughts before we go, mate?
No, I think we've, it was a decent weekend of football, really, for the sort of results-wise. I don't think we can really argue with it, and it's nice to boil a pan of hot wheat over Liverpool, isn't it? Because it certainly riled them up again, hasn't it?
Well, that's it. I mean, the Twitter is a joy to behold sometimes. Even for the negativity can be nice sometimes as well.
Yeah.
That'll be great. Anyway, thanks, Paul, for joining me today. I hope everyone
always a pleasure.
I hope everyone out there enjoyed this In Good Kompany edition. A bit low on numbers, but hopefully high on quality with your old Satan and Greasy for 2022 generation. There you go. This is what we are. Thanks for joining us, guys. Anyway, and hopefully you'll tune in again next week. We may have more on board, hopefully. But hey, if there isn't, me and Paul are here. Who cares? That's all we want. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. All I ask is everyone to please stay safe everywhere in the world. Apart from one bloke, I don't really want to stay safe, but I won't go into any great detail on that. But anyway,
Alex Ferguson.
two blokes. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye for now.